The most annoying thing is, Ollie, that I know who is behind it, but I can't get any answers out of them. I said, yeah, that does sound frustrating. So this is kind of a classic art theft. I suppose so. I don't know a whole lot about art theft, but yes. You see, I know for a fact that it's my brother-in-law. I know that he is behind the theft of the painting. Well, it's personally important, but also monetarily valuable, you understand. I said, yeah, I get that. Tell me a little bit about the painting. So, well, it's a painting that my grandfather, well, not exactly, my great uncle acquired. Um, it's, well, it's a Rodin, and he didn't do a lot of paintings, mostly sculptures, and so it's unusual in that respect. And, well, I just love it. I mean, it used to hang in a place of honor in my great uncle's house. And when I said, my great uncle raised me well, my grandparents died when I was very young. And so my great uncle and my great aunt, they were like grandparents to me. As I understand most people's grandparents. And this painting, it hung in a place of honor in his house, in their house. I was closest to my great uncle. Anyway, when they passed away, which was about 10 years ago now, my great uncle willed it to me, but my brother-in-law has always lusted after it. And they came to visit my brother-in-law and his daughter, and oh, I want to love my niece, but the two of them are nothing but trouble. I wish it weren't true. So what do you mean? Well, they've both been in and out of jail. She's 27 now. She's been involved in fraud and drugs and all kinds of things, and him the same. Him not so much drugs, but various petty crime. Elsa, stop. Just stop, Elsa. Take your hand away from your face now. Don't put him back up. Stop. Well, they were both visiting. I mean, my husband's very fond of them, and I enjoy their company, but I know that they're up to no good. And when they left, the painting was gone too. I said, I see. And I suppose it's awkward for you to grill them for details. It is, yeah. My brother-in-law, well, my husband doesn't want to believe anything bad about his niece or his brother, and I respect that about him, but unfortunately they're up to no good. I do have this, though. And she pulled out a notebook, a date book, more specifically. So it is my brother-in-law's, and though he's a lot of things, he is organized. And he keeps all of his appointments here in this book. I nicked it when I realized that the painting was gone and I didn't have a way to get it back from them before they left, and I nicked his date book. I mean, he probably knows it by now, but he no more can come to me and say, did you steal my date book, than I can come to him and say, did you steal my painting? You understand? I says, I think so. I mean, the specific dynamics of your weird family situation is not something I'm privy to, but I get the general idea. So you have the date book. I says, I do. Here and here. Here's that. So I'm hoping you can get my painting back. I don't need my brother-in-law to go to jail or anything like that. I don't know if his daughter was involved in this particular caper. But I want the painting back. I wouldn't even necessarily bother me if I thought that he was going to hang it in a place of honor. But I know he's just going to sell it. So I understand. So I took the daybook and he began to read through it. And he realized that there was all kinds of different appointments in there, meetings with people. Some of them just seemed to be beers with friends, but some of them seemed more like business meetings, things that could be suspicious. But there's nothing in there that screamed art theft. And then he got an idea. Stop, please. Elsa. He said, what if I were to... It should work. It should work. Because there were only a handful of places in the D.C., Baltimore area that handled moving expensive art. I mean, the museums did it, obviously. But, they didn't hire their services out. And there were really two private firms that would handle moving art. There was the Mikulski brothers, a long-established firm that had been doing art and pianos and things of that nature, expensive items that you might move, for more than 100 years. The original Mikulski brothers, well, they'd passed it down to their sons and their grandsons. Well-respected people. And then there was Davidson. And they were newer to the Baltimore area. They'd made their name in Philadelphia and moved down here about 15 years ago. Ollie knew about these folks because, he's active in the art world. Is part of the museum community. And he thought, but they're not going to tell me, they're clients. They're not going to give me what I need to know, because what I need to know is a little more detailed. So he had to think, and he thought, and he thought, and he thought. Who would they answer to? Who would they tell anything to get business? And then it occurred to him. So we called up both Mikulski brothers and Davidson and told them the same thing. And he felt a little bit bad about it because it wasn't quite true. He said, he put on a little bit of a fake voice and said, "Hello, I am here representing Mr. Steve Wynn of Las Vegas." I said, "Oh, yes, how can I..." Stop, Elsa, for goodness sake, stop. I'm serious. Because Steve Wynn owns a bunch of casinos in Las Vegas, and he's an art buff. Handles a lot of art. Said, yes, I'm looking to move a few delicate pieces here in the Baltimore, D.C. area, specifically from Baltimore down to a property that we own in D.C. Not a public property, mind you, but still, the pieces are important. Paintings, I should say. The person on the phone said, "Okay, well, for a client like Steve Wynn, I should just pass you right to my manager, if that's all right." I said, certainly, appreciate that. So the manager came on and said, "Hello, how can I help you, sir?" I said, "Yes, I'm calling on behalf of my employer, Steve Wynn, of the Wynn Hotels." I said, "Oh yes, we're well familiar with the Wynn family, and what can we do to help?" I said, "Well, we've purchased a couple of paintings from a private collection, a family collection in Baltimore, and we need it moved with great delicacy and care and subtlety from its current location in Baltimore to a private property that we own, a private club in D.C. It's not a well-known club. It's a private club, like I said. And we know that we've talked to our peers in the Baltimore area and understand that there are basically two firms. So we'd like to talk to people that could recommend you, people that you've worked with to move some art." And in each case, the manager said, "Oh, yes, well, I can give you... Yes, we've worked with a number of the most important art dealers and art houses here in the whole Mid-Atlantic region." And they went on, and after a little while, Ollie let them talk for a bit, and then he stopped them. "Stop picking at your face and picking at the light." He said, I don't mean to be rude, but I need to stop you there, because you and I both know that in the moving business, even the fine moving business, staffing turnover is rapid. The people that you have today are not the same people that you have 2 months ago. So I don't really need to hear about the people that you've worked with for the past years and years and years. To vet if your service or your competitor's service is who we will use, I need to speak to people that you've worked with in the past month so that I can know that the same individual movers will be who I work with. I said, "Oh, I understand. You're absolutely right. Here, let me give you a list." And so, the person from the moving company, both moving companies, gave Ollie a list of people that had moved expensive art in the past month. Now, Ollie took that information, which he felt a little bad about getting through, well, some falsification. He does not work for Steve Wynn, not in this case anyway. But he had a list of names of clients, and he had a date book from this brother-in-law. And he searched through the lists in the date book, and he found about 3.5 weeks prior, there was a match. A match between Mr. Eisenstein and M. Eisenstein, who had both hired Davidson Movers to move one insured piece of art, and the same appeared around the same time in the brother-in-law's date book. So Ollie had a lead. And now he had to go look up and talk to Mr. Eisenstein. Now I had to come up with a similarly convincing tactic. M. Eisenstein turned out to be Michael Eisenstein, a German immigrant who had been living in Baltimore for a good 30 years now, mind you. An art dealer with a reputation for being involved with a few shady folks. So Ollie thought he might do best by bluffing. He found out through digging and talking that Mr. Eisenstein liked to hang out, to have breakfast specifically, at a little cafe down in Mount Vernon, across the corner from Never on Sunday, right next to the little wine store. There's a breakfast place. And on Saturdays, if nothing else is going on, Mike Eisenstein can be found having Eggs Benedict at this restaurant. And so Ollie went and he watched and he waited. He found some pictures of Mr. Eisenstein from some various, internet sources. And when Mr. Eisenstein sat down, and when he was served his coffee, Ollie came and sat down across. Excuse me. Mr. Eisenstein was not pleased. He said, "I'm sorry, this is a private breakfast. I'm not really entertaining guests." And I said, "Yes, I understand. I won't patronize you by offering to buy you a cup of coffee. But the truth is, I need the painting back. I don't care how you came about it." And Mr. Eisenstein gave a deep breath and said, "I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just here for breakfast. I'm going to have to ask you to vacate my table, please." And I said, fair. But your bluff or my bluff. The fact of the matter is, I know you're involved. And I know how you're involved. And I'm just a private eye. But if I can't get anywhere just talking, person to person, I'll have to bring in the police. The guy said, no, there's no need for that. Right then the waiter came. I said, what can I get you, sir? Is your friend joining you? I said, yes. Eggs Benedict for the both of us, please. I'll pay. Eisenstein scowled at him. I thought it said you wouldn't play that sort of route. I said, no, you can buy the coffee. I'll buy the sandwiches. Either way, my client needs the painting back and doesn't want to get messy. Doesn't need to get anybody put in jail. But now that we know exactly who has it and how they got it, it's a question of bringing in the cops or having it quietly reappear. Your call. Eisenstein sat back and sipped his coffee. Coffee arrived for Ollie, too. And he sipped. And said, you're good. You're good. I don't interact with a lot of octopuses, I have to say. I said, I'm an unusual character. Seems like you might be, too. And Eisenstein said, I am, I suppose. Well, this one's small fries to me. Sorry to see the loss, but, well, in my business, whatever, there's no point in hiding anymore. Sometimes, when you deal in stolen goods, you have to be willing to take a loss. Here, the loss ain't too great. And I ain't trying to get the cops involved. So, fine. Where should I make it reappear? No, I gave him an address. It was actually the public library at the Hopkins campus. Ollie had a friend there who could take such packages. And I said, that's a good call. I like your style. Completely public and completely private all at the same time. Well, Ollie, what do you get into when you're not tracking down art thefts? And they got to talking. And it turns out that Ollie and Mike Eisenstein had a lot to say to each other. In fact, they quite got on. And by the end of the breakfast, Eisenstein wasn't particularly mad about getting caught by Ollie, and Ollie wasn't particularly mad about having to catch Eisenstein. They left, they exchanged phone numbers, and they became fast friends. It's always useful for Private Eye to have a few contacts in other parts of the world, of the criminal world. Well, later that week, a painting arrived at the Hopkins Library, and Ollie's associate received it. Gave Ollie a call, and just as quietly, the painting reappeared in his client's house. She invited him over. She'd had it wrapped like a present and had some close friends over for cocktails, including her brother-in-law. And as she tore open the paper, she watched the brother-in-law's face as horror ripped across his face. He excused himself thereafter and left. And as soon as he did, Ollie's client, the hostess, let loose a raucous laughter. Sometimes you just get to plain old win, she said to Ollie. And Ollie said, glad to be a part of it. And that was the case of Ollie and the stolen painting.